Welcome to today's presentation. Our topic is OneNote versus Evernote. Both are popular note-taking and organizing tools used by both businesses and individuals worldwide. They both have desktop programs, web platforms, mobile applications, and content clippers. Their similarities lead many to question why we need both and which would suit your needs. The truth is that despite their similarities, the two products have very different origins, and those backgrounds give both products some distinguishing strengths. The topics that we're going to cover for each of our products today are organization, adding content, sharing, storage, and pricing. To start, we're going to look at how each product structures their notebooks. Both OneNote and Evernote call the top level of their organizational structure a notebook. However, the structure within notebooks is quite different between the two products. This is the most obvious result of the differences in each product's origin. OneNote started as Microsoft's way to digitize and store sticky note type data, as well as loose printouts, receipts, and other office paperwork. It was offered originally with Microsoft's Office suite, so along with Word and Excel, you could also have this lovely program called OneNote. Evernote, however, began as a way to quickly and easily capture data anywhere, including away from your computer, as well as keep that data organized. So with that in mind, let's set up our notebooks. I'm going to be using the desktop software for both OneNote and Evernote to demonstrate how to set up these notebooks and for the rest of our webinar today. We're going to start with OneNote, and as you can see, it does have some similarities to the rest of the Microsoft Office suite. It does have a similar ribbon. Please do keep in mind I am working on a Macintosh computer, so I do not have as many features as the Windows version would have. However, most of the functionality is maintained between the platforms, and I am comfortable moving forward with this demonstration. That said, if you do have any questions about some functionality that may be missing that you are expecting to see in OneNote, please feel free to give us an email after the webinar is over. And just to be clear, that disclaimer is only for OneNote. The Evernote product is exactly the same across platforms. So that's just a disclaimer for OneNote. All right, so let's set up our notebook. Here you can see there are 3 panes on the left side of the screen. The first one is for notebooks, and you can see the titles down at the bottom. The second one is for sections, and the third one is for pages. And to create a new element in either one of those 3 categories, you click the button on the bottom with the plus sign. For the purposes of this webinar, we're going to pretend that we are in charge of gathering info for our imaginary company's relocation to Atlanta. So we're going to put some information together in both of the programs that will help us get a better picture of what is going on in the city of Atlanta that we can then share with the rest of the company. So we're going to start by creating a new notebook, clicking the notebook button at the bottom. It pops up here with a couple of different folder colors, so we can pick whichever one makes us happy. Let's go ahead and pick one that stands out. We'll go ahead and choose red. Over here, we can give our notebook a title. I'm going to call this the Atlanta Project. Click Create, and we get our notebook. As you can see over here, this one is showing open, and it is in red. I do have another notebook created. You can see what it looks like when I switch between the two. That one is for webinars. Obviously, this is the one that we are doing right now. So going back over to the Atlanta project, once you click on the notebook name itself, it closes that pane so that you are just operating within the notebook that is active. Now we have sections, which are akin to chapter titles, and then you have individual pages within the chapter. There's no limit to how many sections or how many pages you can have within each notebook, and you do also have the option to make subpages if you need that extra level of differentiation. I'm going to go ahead here and give this a couple of sections. It does give you these 2 default sections and pages as an easy way to start. You can rename them by right-clicking and renaming. Let's call this one Amenities and More. And then I'm going to add one more just for the ease of organizing this as we go, and we'll call the next one the new facility. That'll just give us a couple of topics to start saving our information to. You can see here it does also give you the ability to change tab colors within the sections themselves. So you do have a good way to flag these visually to keep them organized within the notebooks individually. Once we start adding content, you'll see how giving the individual pages names will come in handy. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this particular one to Overview. This is going to be just some notes on what the rest of the chapter is going to contain. You can use this initial page as any type of content that you want, or you can just go ahead and delete it in favor of adding the content that you either clip from the web or add manually on your own. So again, to review, we've got our notebook here. We have our section, which is like a chapter, and then we have the individual pages within the chapter. That is the notebook structure for OneNote. Moving over now to Evernote, you can see that there is also the option to create notebooks. However, the layout is a little bit different. So to create a new notebook in Evernote, the button for New Notebook is up at the top. When we click that, it gives us a prompt to give our notebook a name. Let's do the same as we did in OneNote for consistency's sake. This is now the Atlanta project. I'm going to set this as private at first because I don't have anyone that I want to invite to the project currently. If you do want to start sharing it immediately, you have the option to enter names within your organization or an email address for someone else. However, if you select private, you do see the option here that you can always share later. I'm going to click Create, and you will see that this has now been added to my list. And there's a drop down over here on the right where you can share the notebook with other people for editing, or you can publish it so it is viewable by others. That option is always there for you whenever you want to take that into consideration. To open the Atlanta project notebook, I'm going to double click on it. As you can see by this screen, it does not have the elements of organization immediately obvious like it does in OneNote. Going back to what I had mentioned about the origins, this is where the difference in structure starts to come into play. If you want to create a new note, there is this button up here with the little green plus. Go ahead and click that. You can call this anything you want. For consistency's sake, I'm going to call this one Overview as well. That's going to be the title. Now here I can list whatever I think is going to appear in the rest of the notebook, or after I get the notebook done, I can make those notes individually. In both products, you do have the ability to link to other notes so that with one quick click in something like an overview, you can access everything else in the notebook. Of course, you do also have the option to use the menu, or you can use the search feature. I personally like to structure things this way. That way, if I need to see everything within a notebook at one glance on one page, I have the option to click on one element and do that easily. To reiterate the differences between the two just a little bit, you can start to see now how the Evernote notebooks show each individual element as its own tile. If I click on New Note and create another tile, you can see that it shows the different blocks that are within this notebook. They're sort of like pages, but they don't have as much immediate differentiation between them as it does in OneNote. Clicking back over to OneNote briefly, you can see this is much more obvious a notebook, chapter, page sort of structure. So if you are someone who likes to have things organized in a spiral notebook or a 3-ring binder, OneNote might feel more natural to you. Whereas if you are someone who likes to have quick icon visibility of the different elements within your notebook, Evernote might be more structured to how you prefer to see your content. Now that we have our notebook set, we can start adding content. Both OneNote and Evernote have browser plugins to make clipping and saving content from the web very easy. These can be added to most modern browsers. I'm going to be using Google Chrome today. If you're not using Chrome, things may look a little bit different when you install the plugins, but overall the experience should be pretty close to the same. On Google Chrome, up here in the upper right corner, you will see the two icons for the plugins. The elephant head is for Evernote, and the purple notebook is for OneNote. We're going to start with OneNote by clicking on the icon, which brings up a menu of a few different options for clipping your content. If you hover over the individual content types, you'll see a tooltip that pops up that will explain to you what the individual clip type does. Full page says that it takes a screenshot of the whole page just like you see it. Region is taking screenshots of the parts of the page that you select. Article is clipping just the article in an easy-to-read format. And Bookmark is clipping just the title, thumbnail, synopsis, and link. As you can see in this big window in the center, it does give you a preview of what things are going to look like once you save them to your notebook. I'm going to close this for just a second. If I scroll down on this page, you can see that there are lots of different elements in this travel guide from Google about our new host city of Atlanta. Since there's lots of good visuals that might go nicely into a presentation, I'm going to go ahead and click on my icon and choose the full page option. Now, since there is some good content in there via links as well, be aware that it does save the original destination link. That way you can still go back and find that page originally, even if all you did was select the full page. You'll see here, though, that this is just an image. There's nothing in here that is left actionable to click on. That is one thing that does differentiate OneNote from Evernote, and we'll get back to that in just a moment. So this saves the website exactly as you see it. All of the formatting is intact, as well as all of the images, and you can scroll through the entire thing at a glance. I am going to choose a location here in this dropdown and save this to the Atlanta project. This one I'm going to put in the section Amenities and More, and I'm going to select Clip. You can see it gives you a notification here that the clip has been successful. As a note, it does give you this button to view in OneNote. However, this launches the web version of OneNote, which I'm not going to demonstrate today because its functionality is very similar to the desktop version. I'm going to go ahead and click the X to dismiss this notification. To show you what that looks like once it does sync over to OneNote, I'm going to come over here and click on our Atlanta travel guide. I can come up here and rename this to anything I want. I'm going to leave it with the default name of the page for now. As you can see, the link that I mentioned is right there at the header, and I can scroll through, and the entire web page itself is saved as one image. Going back over to Google Chrome, I'm going to take a look at our next page. Here we have a page that lists neighborhoods in Atlanta, which of course would be good information for anyone looking to relocate to the area. As you can see, this page is much more text-based, so I'm going to select a different clipping option from the menu this time. I'm going to go ahead and click on Article, which is going to give us a simplified version of the website. It strips most of the site design itself and just gives you the text, the links, and any related images. This is already set to go into the Atlanta project in the right category, so I'm going to select Clip, and again, it will give me a notification that my clip was successful, which I will dismiss. Next, I have a link here that is going to tell our hungry employees good places that they can eat. Since this is a list of links to other places, this is probably something that I would choose to bookmark. So I'm going to click on Bookmark so that the individual clip itself just saves what we see on the screen there and tells people to go to the link for more information. Last, I have brought up a map of Atlanta. This as well would make a nice visual for any presentation about the city of Atlanta. So I'm going to click on our icon and select Region. It grays out the screen and gives you a set of crosshairs. With the crosshairs, you can drag and highlight the area that you want to select for your region, and then release the mouse to save your image. Going to clip that, and it has been successful. Returning to OneNote, We can see now that all 4 of our clips have synced to our notebook. We can see the travel guide, our neighborhoods, the bookmark for food and drink, and our lovely map image, which also as well does give you the link back to the original page if you do need to reference it. This is the clipped content for OneNote via its web clipper tool. Now we're going to come over here and do the same thing in Evernote. Similar to before, I'm going to click the Evernote icon, and this will bring up the different clip types that Evernote has to offer. As you can see in this list, we have article, simplified article, full page, bookmark, and screenshot. Since I used the full page option for this particular page in OneNote, I'm going to do the same in Evernote so that we can compare the two. I'm going to select full page, choose the Atlanta Project Notebook, and click Save. It does take a moment, but we will get our pop-up that says that this has been a successful clip. And there we have our confirmation, and pop over to Evernote to see our clip. So here it is, and immediately as I move my mouse, you may see the difference between the full page option in OneNote and the full page option in Evernote. Whereas in OneNote, the full page option saves the entire web page as an image that does not preserve any links or any formatting. The same option in Evernote does preserve those elements. So when it says that it's preserving the entire web page, it is actually bringing you the entire web page. You can double click on the note itself to see everything in a full view. Some web pages with a lot of formatting may not render exactly the same way in Evernote that they did natively in the website. It's up to you what is more important, maintaining the links or maintaining the structure. If the page structure is important to you as opposed to some of the content being saved quickly, you may want to save it just as a bookmark. To show you another option, I do have this Wikipedia article brought up. Since this is very, very text heavy, but also does have some interesting graphics, I want to use this page to illustrate the article option. So when I click on article, you can see this green box moves from selecting the entire page to just selecting the main content. As opposed to saving the full page, which gives you all of the menus such as on the left and the navigation items on the top, the article option just saves the meat of the particular page. So I'm going to send that to my Atlanta project and save it, and then we'll take a look at what that looks like. And here we have it. You can see that the formatting and the design of the page itself has been saved, but only for the article that we wanted. It has stripped all of the menu options and the navigational buttons. This gives a nice clean view while maintaining the structure of the page itself. Going back to the page about the neighborhoods, since this one was such a great example of something that's mostly text, we will go with simplified article, much the same as we did in OneNote. These two features are very similar. It does give you this rendered preview of what your clip will look like. We can save it to our Atlanta project, pop over to Evernote, and see what that looks like. And you can see it's a nice list with all of the formatting of the web page stripped, so it's very simple and easy to view the links, which are still preserved and active. Coming over to our list of places to eat. This one will stick with Bookmark, same as before. It does render a preview, which looks very similar to the OneNote version. Select our notebook and save. And last but not least, we have our map graphic. And we will use the screenshot option. Same as before, it gives you crosshairs, although these ones stretch across the entire page. and click and drag to select the area that you want to save as your image. And it gives you a preview. One difference between OneNote and Evernote that we can see right now is that Evernote gives you the option to edit and annotate the image itself. OneNote has similar options, but you have to wait until the image has been saved to make your annotations and your edits. Both of them have the functionality, they're just set up in slightly different ways. So we'll click Save to send that to our Atlanta project notebook. And coming back over to Evernote, you can see the layout that it gives us. The default layout is these individual cards for each note. This icon here allows us to change the layout itself. We can expand the cards so that's all you see. We can do just snippets, which gives you a little bit of a preview. We can do the side list, or we can move the list to the top. But regardless of which view you choose, everything is relatively free form, in that the most recently edited item is going to be at the top. That overview that I had started to create, where I might list, for instance, the Atlanta travel guide, the Wikipedia article, the neighborhoods, so on and so forth, since that's not the most recently edited item, it does go to the bottom. So that structure is not very set. On the flip side, going over to OneNote, you'll remember that everything here is very, very linear. You have your notebook, you have your sections, you have your pages. They always stay in this order. You can drag and drop them to rearrange if you so choose, but overall, it is very, very structured. Which brings me to an interesting difference between the two notebook layouts. While the note list in Evernote is very free form, the notes themselves have a comparative rigidity to them. Their structure is quite set. You can make annotations and you can add some additional information with these buttons up here. However, their layout is very, very fixed. To compare it to OneNote, despite having a much more structured notebook organization, the elements on the page are each individual blocks. You can arrange the element blocks any way that you choose. So you can see that while one product may have flexibility in one area, it may not have that same flexibility elsewhere. That's why it's interesting to compare and contrast the two products to see what it is that they do similarly and what it is that they do differently. Now that we have some content to play with, let's go back to our organization options. Starting with OneNote, let's look again at the overview page we created. There are many ways that you can organize your notebooks using the section and page features, but another option you may want to consider is creating a table of contents. That's what I'm going to do here with this overview page. With a table of contents, not only can you list the content in the notebook on one page, making it easier to access at a glance, you can link directly to the different pages within your notebook. This can be useful especially once your notebooks start to get a little bit larger. So to create a page link, select the target page. So we'll do this one first. Right-click and select Copy Link to Page. And come back to your overview or table of contents, however you want to call it. Right-click and paste. You can see it creates this block with the link inside, and if you click on the link, it goes directly to that page. Let's grab the rest of them so that we can see what the page looks like. We do have a couple of formatting options here. I can either add the next link to this block, or I can create a different block. It's completely up to you how you want to format it. Putting things in the same block is the most simple, the easiest. But if you really want to get creative with the formatting of your notebook, feel free to explore the options with the various blocks. You can add individual images to spice things up a bit, or really anything that you can think of. And once I have all of my links here, there are some additional formatting options. If I go back over to the Home tab, if I select all, I have the option to add some bulleted lists, so I can change it to just visual bullets. Or if I have a very long list and I want it to be numbered, I can do that as well. A lot of these formatting options should be fairly familiar to you if you are familiar with Microsoft Office, because the options on the ribbon are going to be taken directly from all of the other products in the Office suite. So it is very, very user-friendly if you are familiar with Office. Now let's go over to Evernote and do the same thing with this overview page. Very, very similar to the way that it works in OneNote. If you right-click on any individual note, you have the option to copy note link. So I'm going to come back over to my overview note and paste that there. You can see it gives you the link directly to the note, very, very similar to the way that it works in OneNote. So I'm going to go ahead and build the rest of this as well, copying my note links and pasting them. And then once I have all of these built, we can apply some similar formatting. Now, since Evernote does not have the rich history of the entire Office franchise to draw from, some of the formatting options are a little bit more simplified. So I think that'll do. Let's select all of these, and up here in this top bar, there is the option to give it some bullets, or you can number your list. So very, very similar to Office, but it does not have all of the different formatting options. If you're not into circular bullets, then you're kind of out of luck. In the grand scheme of things, it's really just a personal choice, much like many of the other features that are just ever so slightly different between the two products. Another very popular organizational tool is the tag. If you're familiar with certain website platforms or with blogging or even with some social media use, you've probably used tags before. Both of our STAR programs today do use tags, so we'll show you how those work in each of the programs. All versions of OneNote 2016 come with a list of preset tags, which you can assign to individual pages to give yourself another level of visual differentiation between items. There's a list up here under the Home tab. You can either scroll through to the side, or you can use the drop-down arrow to see all of them. You can see they have a couple of different categories. You can list things as contacts, phone numbers. You can list them as more nebulous things like ideas or to-dos. You can assign them priority levels, so on and so forth. Unfortunately, you are limited to these tags that are preset in everything except the desktop version of OneNote 2016 for Windows. On all the other platforms, you are sort of stuck with just the tags that they have preset for you. However, one other feature that I personally find useful is this to-do button. I like the to-do button because with one quick click, I can assign a checkbox and I can mark it done for anything within my notebook. This becomes useful if you are using it to plan a to-do list or if there are actionable items on each of the individual pages that you're building. I like it because it is just one button that they have nicely set aside for you, which I think is very, very useful. So it's not the most robust tagging system, but it does certainly have its applications. Evernote, on the other hand, it offers a bit more freedom when it comes to tags. It's more of a traditional tagging fashion where the user is responsible for defining and setting each of their tags. Defining tags is quite easy. It can be done by clicking in the typing field next to the tag button at the top of the window of each note. For this project, I'm going to go ahead and tag these as Atlanta. Once I add the tag to the note, I can add it to any other note in any other notebook. It does start to pre-populate the list for you, so you can select it. With this drop-down, you can also filter by tag. You can remove the tag, and you can delete the tag from all notes. If you make a typo or if you decide that you want to change it, you can do that with a simple click there. You do have the ability to enter multiple tags as well. If, for instance, I wanted to save this as, let's see, I think, what is one of my other ones? Bookmarks. I can save it to both. I'm sure you've noticed by now that on the left side of the screen, Evernote by default does have tags listed as one of its menu options. It is something in the view menu that you can turn on or turn off. It is completely optional. It does give you a list of all of the tags that you have when you click on tags. And then you can click on the individual tags themselves to see what has been tagged with those tags. So for instance, I had started to build my other notebook for webinars, and I tagged each of the individual types of notes, so that way I had visual examples of each one, and they were easily accessible for me to include in the webinar later. As you can see, this is another place where the difference between the two products and their origins becomes very, very evident. Evernote's intention to organize information captured quickly from any online device shows in its emphasis on tagging to keep each note stored and categorized quickly. On the other hand, OneNote's digital notebook model requires a bit more intent in terms of setup, but once you have your notebook itself set up, it offers a very clean and linear overall structure that may not utilize tags as much as you would in Evernote with its more free-form structure. Up next is a really cool feature, kind of makes us feel like we have the software of the future a little bit. It is OCR, and OCR stands for Optical Character Recognition. In short, it's the way a computer program reads and converts text from an image. Both OneNote and Evernote utilize OCR tech, but they employ it in very different ways. OneNote's use of OCR is extremely handy for anyone who has a lot of scanned, printed notes, handwritten post-it notes, or other notes that are sitting around your office, anything that you need digitized in an editable format. So OneNote actually allows you to copy text from an image and paste it anywhere you like. As a note, if you don't have a scanner, but you have a lot of documents that you would like to have scanned, there's actually an app that you can download to your phone called Office Lens. More than just a camera, it actually optimizes any pictures that you take using your mobile device's camera. It balances the light levels, it optimizes the text, and basically makes it so that it's as easy as possible for the computer to read the text that is on the page. So very, very handy tool to download as sort of a companion to OneNote if that's a feature that you're looking for. And let's take a look at one of the images that we have here. Now this is kind of a big one, but what I do have is an image that I had saved specifically for this webinar. Let's see, the region. Okay, so this image here was something that I had pulled when I was doing research for this webinar. And it was a nice little graphic that had just a couple of quick types of term definitions in regards to the different types of clips. So with this, since this is an image, you can see that I can't select any text on it. It is definitely an image. If I right-click on it, I can copy text from picture and come on down here and paste the text. And you can see that I now have the ability to edit, copy, do anything that I want with the text that was actually from the picture. One thing you may want to notice, though, you may want to go through and proofread anything that you do have converted to text. It's not perfect technology. It is essentially looking at shapes and then deciding what word that shape is supposed to represent. And as you can see, sometimes it's not perfect. So you want to take a look at whatever text you do copy from an image and go ahead and give it a little proofread. I'm not sure what a booklinarch would be, but we'll change that to bookmark, and then we have our text that we can insert anywhere else that we like. Now, Evernote also makes use of optical character recognition, but it functions very, very differently. Evernote's OCR identifies words in scanned images and adds the found words to its search result library. So what this means is that it's going to scan the image itself for any words that it finds within the image. Then you can use the search feature, which is here up at the top, and enter a search term and find anything that corresponds. So once again, using our map of Atlanta graphic as an example. Well, let's see, we've got, what do we have here? We've got Panthersville is a city in Georgia. Well, just for kicks, I'm going to type in Panthersville and search. Now you can see that it gives me this note for Atlanta, and it highlights where it found Panthersville within the image. So this works on images that have longer blocks of text as well, or it works on handwritten notes as long as the notes are clearly and legibly written. Same thing as with OneNote. You can do the same thing with handwritten notes. One thing that is different is that Evernote does not allow you to copy the text. So if this was like that inset graphic that I had demoed in OneNote, I don't have the ability to copy all of that text and then paste it somewhere else. Moving on to sharing and security. Once your notebook is either complete and ready to deploy, or you're ready to bring in another team member to add some content, you'll probably want to know how to share your notebook. Both products allow you to share the notebooks either as read-only or with permissions to edit. They both also allow you to add various levels of encryption to some or all of the content for some additional security. You can share individual pages, or you can share the entire notebook. These features are largely similar in function, but I'm going to point out a couple of the key differences. Regarding encryption, Evernote allows you to actually encrypt specific portions of the text separately from the rest of the note or the notebook itself. So to show you how that works, I'm going to select this paragraph right here and right-click, go down to Encrypt, select Text. So let's say that I had a document that I wanted everybody to be able to edit, but I only wanted certain upper level type employees to know certain details. I have the ability to encrypt selected paragraphs or images or bookmarks or whatever other content you might have, and assign that a password so that even if you have access to the rest of the notebook, you do not have access to that specific content. OneNote has a different level of encryption. You can encrypt individual sections. That's the lowest on the hierarchy that you are able to encrypt in OneNote. So if you right-click on any of the sections, you can come down here to password protection and do the same thing. You can apply a password to the individual sections. Sort of the same thing if you want an employee to be able to see the rest of the notebook, but you only want management to see specific sections, you have the ability to password protect those individual sections. Now, as for sharing, those are largely identical until you factor in OneNote's Office integration. It is part of Microsoft's entire Office suite, which of course gives you access to things like Word and Excel, all of which do seamlessly integrate with OneNote. They are designed to play nicely together, and they do it quite well. The nice thing about OneNote is, especially if you are on an enterprise level plan, if your business has, it makes use of SharePoint, you can actually share pages from your notebooks or notebooks entirely directly to SharePoint. It's actually possible to essentially build your entire SharePoint presence and use OneNote to organize all of it. I have seen businesses successfully use it as sort of a company wiki page, especially with the ability to link to different pages within a notebook. It does sort of resemble that wiki format, and you can actually build your entire SharePoint presence that way. So it just gives you a different host of options. You can also send pages or notebooks directly to the other programs in the Microsoft Office suite. Evernote does have one additional feature that OneNote does not currently have, and that is the ability to share to social media. If you right-click on any note and you go to Share Note, it by default brings up this enter name or email, but down here there's this link for more sharing, or there's this button, excuse me, for more sharing. If you click on the button, it gives you the option to post a shareable link to LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. So if you are someone who has a strong social media presence and likes to share content related to your business to your social media pages, this gives you the option to share something that you have already organized nicely and formatted, or something that you had saved a long time ago and suddenly becomes relevant. Any sort of use that you can possibly think of. Gives you the opportunity to do that directly from the software itself. Finally, it is time to talk about the numbers. I'm going to go over pricing and storage. Both Evernote and OneNote have a free version and a paid version. So here's going to be the breakdown. Evernote's free version gives you 60 megabytes per month of new content. So once content is uploaded, it only counts towards the cap for that individual month. So overall, there is unlimited storage, but you can only upload 60 megabytes per month. With the free version of Evernote, you are limited to 2 devices to sync across. So if you have a laptop computer and a smartphone, but you also want to be able to sync to a tablet, you are limited to just 2 devices. So that's a limitation of the free version. Evernote does have a premium version that is $69.99 per year. That takes your storage up to 10 gigabytes per month. Again, same storage model where it is a monthly cap, but anything uploaded previously does not count towards the cap in the following month. And with that premium tier, you are able to sync across any number of devices. There is also a business tier that's $14.99 per user per month with 20 gigabytes per month of storage plus 2 gigabytes per user. It also gives you a couple of very unique enterprise level collaboration features. There is the ability to chat within the Evernote program itself, to share within your enterprise, and a couple of other features that are more on a administrator type level. It lets you manage the employees that are able to have access to the various features within your enterprise suite of Evernote. OneNote does have its entire program completely free. All of the features are unlocked depending on what platform you're using. As I had mentioned towards the start, I am missing some features that are somewhat useful to some. If you have the Windows platform, you have the option to do some additional things, like I mentioned, the custom tagging. You can also, instead of, you can see right here, there's the option for audio recording. You can do video recording directly into OneNote if you have Windows. However, all of the features that are available for your individual platform are there with the free version. You do have a limit of 5 gigabytes stored in the cloud. You are required to have a OneDrive account. That is a free account through Microsoft. And you do have to be logged into your OneDrive account to be able to save anything to the cloud. If you already have a subscription to Microsoft Office, however, whether that is a business subscription or an individual monthly paid subscription, your storage limit is increased to 1 terabyte, and you do have all of the functionality of all of the other items in the Microsoft suite. Since I did mention things like SharePoint and Excel and Outlook. Obviously, if you don't have an Office subscription, you're not going to be able to take advantage of those integrations. But if you do already have it, it's there for you. It's probably already installed. If not, you can very easily download it and add it to your computer and enjoy everything that it has to offer. And with that, we are wrapping up this presentation. Both OneNote and Evernote are clearly extremely useful products. Each of them have their individual strengths. With the info provided today, hopefully you now feel familiar enough with each of their strengths to make an informed decision on which will best suit your needs. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. And if you do have questions, please send them to us via email, and we will get back to you shortly with an answer. Thank you so much. See you next time.